Lord Edwards. Now no one will get a word in.
Oh, thank you everybody. And more history tonight. 2-division world champion. Great win against a very, very good, tough world champion. The journey continues, the history continues. Over to you guys for questions.
First of all, Katie, what was your performance tonight?
I'd probably have to go back and watch it really, but I'm very happy with the performance tonight. It was a very, very smart performance, a very clever boxing exhibition tonight, so I made the 5 as easy as possible for myself.
Listen to Ross a bit more than normal.
Exactly, I didn't get dragged to a 5 for a change.
Was the plan to make you chase around the ring and then just jab it and then get combinations off it?
Yeah, there's no point in saying her trading shots with her. You know, that's her strength. So the plan was always to box her on the outside, and I think I stayed this one for the whole fight.
I just got to ask you, what's it feel like being a 2-division champion?
This is incredible. 2-way, I was getting very emotional in the ring because that's how much it meant to me, and I was overwhelmed by the support there tonight. And to be a 2-way world champion is what to be a multi-way world champion is what every fighter dreams of. I became undisputed champion a few months ago. Now here I am as a 2-way world champion, and it just keeps getting better and better.
I think Eddie you were even choking. It was the first time you couldn't. The first time he couldn't speak.
I said to Katie after, I went, great bit of acting in the interview, but apparently it was genuine. I mean, it was amazing.
I'm not that good of an actress.
First time you were stuck for words.
Yeah, you talked about that crowd in K1's
Amazing. Yeah, we've been building to this for a long time. I mean, I remember when she had her debut at Wembley, you know, we had a couple of hundred Irish up there, and tonight, I know Crodder sold a lot of tickets, and it was, you know, it's in his hometown, but there was a lot of Irish in there tonight, a lot of Irish. And the great thing about the support now for Katie is we know that in Ireland she'll always be a legend and they'll always back her, but everybody else is now. It doesn't matter if it's in Manchester or London or New York, you know, or Boston or Philadelphia, all these places. Like when you look back at what she's achieved in such a short place of time, not just the undisputed lightweight world champion, not just a WBO a lightweight world champion, like welterweight world championship, but everywhere that she's been, everywhere that she's boxed, all the ground that she's broken, and it's like it's been constant. So it's like, right, win the world title at Millennium Stadium, you know, boxing at Wembley Stadium, you know, then go and unify it again, undisputed at Madison Square Garden, you know, then come back, headline in Manchester Arena, and there's so much more to do. The tough thing is, what do you do next? Because she's got about 8 different options, and it's just choosing the right route. And there's so many opportunities to keep creating history. You know, some of the things to tick off on the box is unifying at 140, being undisputed at 140. You know, the first ever 2 undisputed world champions fighting each other in Brackhouse against Taylor, headlining her own card at Madison Square Garden against Amanda Serrano, the rematch with Delphine Persoon. You know, like there's so many different options, and it's going to be really interesting to sit down and say, which one do you go for? For me, I would love to see her become a 2-weight undisputed world champion. But yeah, no, I'm talking about undisputed at 140, you know, but again, everybody wants the Serrano fight, you know, everybody wants the Persoon fight, everybody wants the Brackhouse fight. So it's such a great position to be in. It's just about plotting now and strategy and getting it right, and ultimately that's down to Katie and Ross and Brian. We just come in and say this is all the opportunities, but literally the opportunities are this long. So it's a fascinating.
Tell them all, we'll get to them all.
Yeah, we'll get them. Yeah, you can bet your life she'll get through them all. Yeah.
Do you think that was your smartest professional plan so far? You stayed well out of trouble?
I think so. I definitely knew that I had to say this throughout the whole fight tonight. That's what Ross has drilled into me for the last few months, and yeah, that's exactly what I did. I said yes. I moved very well. I was hooking off her very well, and my jab was very good tonight as well. So I was very. Yeah, for a change. yeah. And I still came out with a big eye. yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was a big puncher, so we knew not to mix with her. Yeah.
Got to give her credit too.
She was great. I tell you, there's not many that would beat her.
No,
I mean, you know, like that's now all these fighters that Katie's beating. Persoon, great fighter. Linardatou, great fighter. McCaskill, now you're seeing, is now unified at 140. You know, Bustos come back and won a world championship at 140. She's fighting Brackhouse on our Monaco show coming up. Farias is a really, really good fighter. You know,
I think that was the 8th past former future world champ tonight.
Estesh rather than Forrest, but I mean, you know, they're all top fighters. Rose Volante, very, very good fighter as well. Like they're
undefeated.
Yeah.
Sorry, Katie, how did you find the step up in weight yourself?
I felt great all camp. Really, this is probably the best I felt in camp coming up to this fight. I had a longer camp this time as well for this fight. I was able to build a bit of strength. It was great being able to eat a small bit more during 5 weeks. And I walk around maybe 140, so I just had to literally just set in the scales. So I didn't have to cut any weight for this fight, and I felt strong, but I would feel just as strong at 135 as well. So.
And her power, how did you feel?
She definitely had a very strong punch, and we knew that coming into this fight as well. She had a big right hand.
You absorbed it,
Yeah, I didn't get hurt during the fight, thankfully.
She's a big 140, though. Strong.
Yes.
Massive.
Big legs.
It's one thing, you know, McCaskill's coming up from 35, you know, Bustos is coming up from 35, but she's a huge 140.
Katie, how do you feel when Eddie lists all the possibilities of future opponents for yourself? Does it feel good to have such a big target on your back?
It's great, actually. There's no shortage of huge fights out there for me. And so when I first sat down Eddie Hearn 3 years ago, we didn't really know what way this journey was going to go. But to see now so many options, so many big fights out there, big headline fights as well, history-making fights, it's very, very exciting.
What's your preference? You're the boss, obviously.
Am I?
That's for sure. Trust me, you're the boss. I'm petrified of you.
I don't know. What would you say?
Just got out of this one, you know.
Yeah,
sit down and think.
Katie, there's a lot of what we've seen in the crowd today. There's a lot of young girls shouting their cheering, you know. You're inspiring a lot of young women to go into the sport. What would you say to all the girls and women?
It's incredible to see so many young girls boxing now, but I'd say just give it everything you have. Just train as hard as you can. Make sure you do more than your opponents. Don't cut any corners, and nothing's impossible when you're willing to work hard for it.
Eddie, in comparison to all the big superstars that you've promoted over the course of your career, when it's all said and done, how do you think Katie will compare?
Right at the top, because she's groundbreaking. You know, what we're seeing with other male superstars is just another superstar. So there's never been a female superstar in boxing, in my opinion. Not someone that's filling arenas, not someone that the broadcasters are actually saying, let's headline with Katie Taylor, let's look at a pay-per-view fight with Katie Taylor in 2020. Like, that's never been done before. So she's a trailblazer in that respect. But honestly, like I was talking the other day, when you look at the superstars of the sport, Katie Taylor is right up there, like on one hand, with all of the top. I'm talking about AJ, Canelo, you know, Mayweather's gone, but like, that's the level that I'm talking about, because she's that skilled, she's broke that much ground, and we're really only getting started. You know, I mean, that's the exciting thing. I feel like there's so much more to do. And I said, you know, remember when we had that meeting in Philadelphia, and I said to Katie, what do you think, you know, another 5, 6, 7 fights? And she looked at me like she wanted to kill me. You know, she was disgusted. Like, you know, and I don't know, you know, but this is what she loves to do at the moment. She's improving, she's boxing so well, and there's so many opportunities. But, you know, now in her prime, this is the time to take those big fights, because that's when you've got to grab them in your prime. You don't want to take them 5, 6 fights down the road when you're not as good as you were 5 fights ago. But at the same time, she's the governor of the division. She's the governor of the sport. So all these other people have got to understand that they will get their opportunity, because Katie will fight all of them. But she's the boss. And all these people, Linardatou included, just made life-changing money tonight through fighting Katie Taylor, which is great, by the way. That's not a criticism. That's wonderful for the sport, and brilliant that female fighters are getting opportunities of paydays like that through Katie Taylor. But understand, they're coming through Katie Taylor to receive that. So Delphine Persoon, Serrano, and what you guys don't see behind the doors, it's all very well saying, yeah, rematch her, fight her, what? So, but when you start negotiations with these people, it's very easy for them to price themselves out in that situation. So it's not just about phone her up and she'll take the fight. It's about actually getting the deal right and understand, you know, treating people with respect, but understand they can't make this kind of money unless they fight the female boss, which is Katie Taylor. And one thing I would say is I've never seen so many young women at a boxing event. It was unbelievable walking down, I mean, like hundreds of them. you know, and they're all there to watch Katie Taylor. It's amazing, and other fighters bouncing off that. Terry Harper, brilliant performance tonight against Overnorth. You know, she's had 8 fights. She gave up boxing. She was a top young amateur, quit because there was no opportunities. Katie come through. She's like, oh, I'm going to do that now. Look at her now. She's great reception. Sold 400 or 500 tickets tonight. She's going to fight Wallstrom for the WBC Super Featherweight World Title. And she can really fight. Like, you know, it's not about. I've said it so many times. So boring. It's not about men's boxing. If you can fight and it's exciting, it doesn't matter. But the fact that Katie's doing it as a female and breaking so much ground, it doesn't matter if she's male or female. She'd be a superstar, whatever gender she was. But it's irrelevant because she's a great fighter, and you know. It's just an incredible story. It's getting bigger and bigger. Every fight's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Katie, did you know when you were in a higher weight division? Or
Sorry?
Did you feel you were in a higher weight division? Was it similar to
it's only 5 pounds, I guess, but I definitely felt her power. But I think she's unusually a strong puncher for her weight division anyway. And we knew coming into this fight, we thought she was the best 140 pounder in the division. I've said that before. I think she'd beat all the rest of the girls in 140 pounds. So it was definitely the hardest fight for me at light welterweight. But I felt strong in there as well. But I could definitely feel her power.
At the end, were you consciously saying, "I was trouble and built up enough points to win this"?
Exactly. It was important for me to bank the early rounds and to be smart and to say this one throughout the whole fight, really.
You have difficult location, given your penchant for staying and actually enjoying it.
It is definitely. I have to be consciously disciplined sometimes because it's so much easier to stand there and fight sometimes rather than move your legs. For me, it is anyway. It's very, very tempting to just stand there and fight. But I knew that's the way to beat her, and I knew I had to say this one throughout the whole fight, and that's what we were talking about for the last few months. I had to be disciplined in there. And
do you find it almost more satisfying tonight, like the fact that you were so disciplined? I know you don't care for the criticism you received after your last one, but you probably feel as though you came out of there with the job properly done as opposed to getting drawn into things you shouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get dragged into the fight this time, which was great, and my legs felt good in there tonight. I felt strong, and I was able to move for the 10 rounds, which was great as well. Yeah.
Was that a clash of heads, Katie?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I didn't notice at the time. I just came back to the corner, and after the second round, actually noticed a bit swelled.
Is that the same one as last time?
I don't know, actually. Yeah.
You had one in the last fight.
Yeah, I just put my hands up, but.
Both fights.
So when you're likely, what is the team likely to make a decision on where?
I think the next thing is when they want to fight. I mean, Katie's always been able to box basically whenever she wants. And she just tells us the right date.
Do I?
Yeah, generally. Yeah. No, so Brian does. But let's be honest, it comes through you and Ross anyway. So it's the same whenever she wants. I mean, I would think now we're in November. You got, you know, and we're looking at February, March. DAZN have actually said there's International Women's Day or National Women's Day in America on March the 7th, and they'd like to run an all-female card for the first time with Katie headlining. So that would be it's the week before. Yeah, it's the week before St Patrick's Day. So
Eddie's going to be the round card boy.
Yeah.
Serrano's team have been tweeted in the last few days that they're talking about boxing somebody else rather than Katie.
Yeah, I'll tell you the very simple situation with Amanda Serrano. She previously signed a contract to fight Katie Taylor, which she then pretended that her promoter didn't sign, right? So we went, whatever. So we negotiated a new deal with her and said, this time we're going to make you sign it rather than your promoter. So this time she signed it. There's a new contract that now she's signed. So she has to fight Katie Taylor. Now she's saying, I don't want to wait till February, March. I mean, she's just boxing in September. I want to box in January. And she's going to box Milena. Yeah. So if she wants to take that fight, she's got to sign an extension to fight Katie Taylor, because we had 6 months from her fight to fight her, which is the beginning of March. So if you want to fight in January, don't pretend that we don't want to fight because you want another fight. So we don't get drawn into this stuff. But the truth is everybody wants the lottery victory to get the Katie Taylor fight. And Amanda Serrano against Katie Taylor is an absolute monster event. Katie Taylor, in my opinion, will headline a pay-per-view next year on Sky, but it won't be in America. And really, there's only 3 fights you can probably do that with, which is Serrano, Breckhouse, and Pesson.
Serrano
probably needs her mouth shut.
Serrano, I would like, you know.
She needs her mouth.
WBA are making regular champion this month, and there's Chantal Cameron as well. Is there a chance of getting really big fights or not to that big of a span?
Chantal Cameron's a really good young fighter. And that, no disrespect to her, because you want to give the young fighters coming through that opportunity one day. But right now, the focus is on the 3, 4, 5 fighters. I think the biggest problem that Katie will have is the mandatories and the lightweight situation, and now going into a new division where there won't be that pressure. But soon, the WBC will say, right, you've got to fight her, and the IBF will say, this is your mandatory. And eventually, like, you can't just keep holding on to the undisputed title whilst you're fighting these mandatories that might not be that important to you. And although she won't want to give up any belts, at some point it's hard not to, unless you want to take fights that actually aren't the right fights, if that makes sense. So that's why moving to 140 sometimes will take that stress away, because she won't have 2 or 3 mandatories that she's got to face, and you know. But again,
so we won't see the picture of Katie with 15 belts.
She's already had that picture.
In front of Katie with 130, 140.
Serrano and Brazil fighters, so Johnson Day could be made up of 40 as well.
No, I mean, again, that's up to the team. For me, those fights should be making 35. Serrano's made it clear she wants that fight at 35. Bassoon's at 35. Katie makes 35 comfortably. So really, the only reason she's going to 140 is to make more history. She doesn't need to do that, but it's just another challenge. And the challenge is fighting bigger girls, you know, like you saw tonight, maybe a little bit stronger. But that's the challenge of moving up. It's like Kovalev's doing the same in a couple of hours. Canelo. He shouldn't be moving to 175, but he's doing it to try and, you know, win another division world title. And the Brackhouse thing will be interesting. She's 147. You know, I wouldn't like to see Katie go much over 140, like what, 140 and a half, 141. That's about,
once it brings the belts.
But can Brackhouse get down to 41 or 40, or, you know?
Has she made that clear?
Not yet. She's fighting on her Monaco card. Likely to come to that, actually.
Yeah.
Monaco, it's right up your street. Yeah.
Can you get the private jet to Bray?
Exactly.
Private jet to Bray.
And you know, she's another groundbreaker of the sport. I mean, she was doing this. It's very hard for me to say Katie's, you know, the trailblazer, the groundbreaker. Let's be right. You know, Brackhouse, you know, was doing it. She's the first lady, as she said. You know, she was doing this before, you know, probably Katie won a gold medal in London. So she's a great ambassador for the sport as well, and a great fighter. So 2 undisputed fighters fighting each other would be another massive event.
Eddie, all of this talk is going on between, like, Serrano doing a video with Matchroom and saying you're running away from her, things like that. And there's obviously there's been talk of that since June as well. How aware are you of any of that? And, like, is there a party that at a certain point just wants to essentially shut them up as well?
I think the fights are going to happen eventually anyway, so eventually I'm going to shut them up, and I'm going to have a chance to shut them all up. But I'm never really respond to anything like that. I'm always very quiet on social media, and once I get them in the ring, that's when I can shut them up. But I always say that my strength is my quiet confidence, and I don't need to talk back. I don't need to retaliate or respond to anything. I just keep quiet and do my talking in the ring, and that's the way I've always done. Yeah. But those fights are going to happen eventually, and they are history-making fights, and I can't wait for those fights because I was born for those big fights.
Eddie, Katie has a really unique ability to switch from a totally relaxed state outside of her in-ring experience to ultra aggressive and just completely different. How surprised are you with each event? Does it still kind of spellbound you?
Tonight, tonight didn't shock me, but you know, it really was an amazing atmosphere, you know, and I expected a great atmosphere, but I didn't probably expect as many Irish in there as they were in there, because you know it's a long way to travel, and they were there. They were out in numbers, they were singing, and it was a nice blend tonight of sort of Crawler fans got involved, you know, the Irish were there, and then even after, you know, the Irish stayed for the Crawler fight, and it was nice. It was a really nice event tonight. Felt big for boxing, you know, and yeah. Christina, you want to come and sit up there? We're all done. Katie, you want to stay and watch it, or you?
I don't. Whatever you want me to.
Christina's taking.